Hello and welcome once again to the program DPR, the Petroleum Industry Regulator. Our focus today is on the Owerri office, which supervises the activities of 5 field offices in Owerri: Enugu, Awka, Abakaliki and Umuahia. What has it been doing with regards to trucks laden with petroleum products turning over and sharp practices at petrol stations across the zone? We'll also look at the DPR zonal laboratories, which kicked off with the Owerri Zonal office. However, before all of these, we'll take the usual tidbits in the world of oil and gas. I'm Sulaiman Alede. The Nigerian Association of Petroleum Explorationists, NAPE, has held its annual International Conference and Exhibition 2019 edition in Lagos. Our correspondent reports that outgoing President Ajibola Oyebamiji set the pace for the highly productive gathering. The Managing Director, Shell Petroleum Development Corporation (SPDC), sponsor of the conference, Osaige Okumbo, represented by the General Manager, Exploration, Dan Agbaire, declared the company's continued and unalloyed commitment to and support for NAPE's Spartan ideals. Earlier, the Lagos State Governor, represented by his Commissioner for Energy and Mineral Resources, Olalere Odusote, had hinted of the state's readiness to align with Nigeria's hydrocarbon development efforts. In his address, the special guest of honor, Group Managing Director, Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Mele Kyari, touched on salient industry issues.
As an industry, we must come together and rally around the government to make sure that we have a full slate of the petroleum legislation so that this country can become the next level of for investment.
Mele Kyari later declared the exhibition open and toured the various stands, including that of DPR, where he was attended to by officials there. The Department of Petroleum Resources DPR Owerri Zone in southeast of Nigeria has taken a giant stride with the commissioning of its own samples testing laboratory located at Owerri in Imo State. Declaring the lab open, DPR Zonal Controller in the zone, Peter Ije, said this development would go a long way in improving the quality of services the office renders to people within the zone.
The most important thing is that this lab will give us the accurate text and result that we needed at the time we also needed it, and at very minimal cost.
Head Health, Safety and Environment HSE Owerri Zone, Christopher Okpara, also stated that the lab equipment are of international standards.
That is to help us solve most of the problems that we have been facing in terms of adulterations of products.
Wandu Aweka, representing DPR Headquarters HSE Management Lagos office, had this to say.
The management is very keen on ensuring that DPR laboratories are established across the nation, and there's a current drive to establish and upgrade the existing DPR labs across the nation.
The newly commissioned laboratory brings to 8 DPR's self-operated labs across the country. The price of oil jumped by as much as 5.4% after it emerged that the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries have agreed to reduce output by 1.2 million barrels per day. The oil-producing nations were expected to agree to a reduction in production at its meeting in Vienna. Reaching a deal proved difficult as sanctions-hit Iran refused to comply with output cuts despite the input of non-OPEC member Russia. The stalemate led the oil price to fall. The commodity had previously dropped by 30% from 4-year highs of more than $86 per barrel in October to below $59 at the end of November. However, a second day of talks led to an agreement providing a boost to the price of Brent crude, which rose to $63.25. In the meantime, President Donald Trump has called on OPEC to leave production unfettered in order to weigh prices down, tweeting ahead of the Vienna meeting, quote, "The world does not want to see us higher oil prices," end of quote.
This is a special announcement from the Department of Petroleum Resources. Do not keep petrol in jerrycans inside your rooms. Ensure that it is kept well outside the living environment and away from children. Avoid using your cell phone in petrol filling stations during refueling of your car. It can cause spark and ignite fire. Do not smoke or use naked light where petrol is being stored or sold. Turn off your car engine at filling station when buying fuel in your tank. Avoid filling your generating set with petrol when the engine is still running. Always ensure that the engine is switched off. Ensure that when pouring petrol into a container, it is done in a ventilated area and in safe manner. For more information, visit the nearest DPR office or our website www.dpr.gov.ng.
Owerri, otherwise referred to as the heartland of the East. Now, this city, however, houses the zonal headquarters of one of the 7 zonal offices of the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR. And this background report will focus on the activities of the zone, which cut across all aspects of the oil and gas industry upstream, midstream, and even downstream. Now, the main questions here are how the zone deals with rampant sharp practices like pump price manipulation, products adulteration, and also accidents associated with petroleum products trucks.
The discovery of crude oil in commercial quantity in the country made it imperative to create a unit known as the Hydrocarbon Unit in the then Federal Ministry of Mines and Power. Mr. Robert K. Dickey, a retired British Petroleum Company BP employee, was recruited to put things together. He worked alongside Chief Meshach Otokiti Feide of the Federal Ministry of Mines and Power to lay the foundation of the Nigerian petroleum industry. Chief M.O. Feide, as he was fondly called, was the first Nigerian to direct the then nascent Nigerian petroleum industry, the first chief petroleum engineer, and the first director of Nigerian Petroleum Resources. Chief Festus Mariho and Chief Odoliye Lolomari were employed in 1960 and sent to Cambridge University, United Kingdom, for training. They came back in 1963 to join Chief Feide in the building of the Nigerian petroleum industry. The Hydrocarbon Unit metamorphosed into a department and later to a ministry then known as the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy in 1975. In the same year, it became the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. Decree 33 of 1977 merged the Ministry of Petroleum Resources with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. In 1985, the Ministry of Petroleum Resources was established, but the Petroleum Inspectorate remained with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. In 1988, Petroleum Inspectorate was excised from NNPC and transferred to the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, and it has remained so till date. The Department of Petroleum Resources is the federal government's regulatory agency responsible for the administration of the principal laws and regulations relating to the Nigerian petroleum industry, as well as the supervision of all petroleum industry activities in Nigeria. The functions of the department may be summarized as follows: monitoring of all petroleum industry operations and activities under licenses or leases in the country in order to ensure compliance with the applicable laws and regulations. Monitoring the petroleum industry to ensure the operations are carried out in line with national policies and goals, and keeping and maintaining records on petroleum industry operations, particularly on petroleum reserves, production, and exports. Another function of the DPR include licensing and granting of leases, as well as rendering regular reports on them to the government. The Department of Petroleum Resources also advises the government and other relevant government agencies on technical matters in the oil and gas industry. It also processes applications for license, enforcing of safety and environmental protection regulations, ensuring timely and adequate payments of all rents and royalties as at when due. All these the department has been doing since 31 years ago. But for more effective execution of these policies, it created 7 zones and 25 field offices. One of these zones is the DPR, Owerri Zone. It takes care of the 5 eastern states of Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo states. It is pertinent to remember that the first Nigerian oil well which was discovered to be a dry well was drilled in 1956 at Iho in today's Imo State. Though Imo State produces crude oil in commercial quantity, the upstream branch of the zonal office takes care of crude oil production in Imo, Abia, and Anambra states.
We participate in drilling activities whereby we go to the various companies within the zone and make sure that they adhere to our statutory functions when it comes to drilling, according to our Petroleum Drilling and Production 1969 and its amendments. And we also carry out maximum efficiency rate tests on various producing wells in the zone.
The Owerri Zonal Office's Engineering and Standards branch also performs the same function as that in the headquarters. Before any construction of infrastructure is undertaken in the zone, the contractor of such undertaking must get the approval of the branch.
Information and communication technology is key in the modern trend of oil and gas business. So we see to it that we in DPR has first and foremost a state-of-the-art communication technology, and we take it up with the companies.
The activities of the Health, Safety and Environment HSE branch of the zone transcends other branches of the zone. It is the core of oil and gas industry in any place in the world, and the branch in Owerri Zone makes sure the HSE principles are adhered to.
What we do, one, is to ensure that companies operating within the oil and gas industry, within our zone, operates within compliance as regards the HSE empowerment given to them. And this includes operating safe, making sure that whatever you do it with minimal risk that is expected in that job.
The southeastern part of the country produces a significant quantity of gas. In addition to this, the use of liquefied petroleum gas LPG is growing rapidly among the population. Hence, gas plants are being built by investors, and it is the responsibility of the gas branch to monitor and regulate the activities of the gas subsector of the petroleum industry. The Owerri Zonal Office has only 2 depots under its supervision. They are in Aba and Enugu, and they are supplied by the same products pipelines known as System 2E and 2EX. The pipelines link these depots to Port Harcourt Refinery. The same pipeline supplies Makurdi, Yola, and Auchi depots. However, these depots have remained dormant for some time now as a result of vandalism by criminal elements in the society. The zone has 2,707 filling stations under its supervision.
You go to filling station, you check the quantity they are dispensing to the public, whether it's the actual quantity that's supposed to be given out. You check the quality, whether it is within range, because we have range for each product. And you also check the price. You check the safety aspect of it. Apart from these other ones, we give approvals for people to site filling stations.
Today, most of the petroleum products consumed in the southeastern part of the country are trucked from Lagos, and the danger is the issue of accidents these trucks are involved in. One of such accidents a few months ago was the one that occurred at Upper Iweka area in Onitsha in Anambra State. The accident consumed so many lives and property worth millions of naira destroyed. Since that accident, other petroleum products laden accidents had occurred in Owerri and other areas. How has the zone handled these incidents? Other challenges the zone contends with are products adulteration and the manipulations of dispensing pumps. How efficiently has the zonal office confronted these vices?
Welcome back from that incisive background report. I hope you've learned from it because I did. Now, I'll now hand you over to Femi Fafiebe for an in-depth interview with Mr. Peter EJ. Now, he is the Deputy Director and Zonal Operations Controller, Owerri Zonal Office of the Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR.
It's my pleasure to have with me the DPR Zonal Operations Controller, Owerri Zone in the southeastern part of the country, in the person of Mr. Peter Ikechukwu EJ. Sir, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Sir, the Owerri Zonal Office of the Department of Petroleum Resources is one of the biggest in the country. And although no refinery exists there, except the one being built, close to the Anambra Basin. So how can you paint a picture of this zone and, how can you elaborate on that for us?
The zone was created in 2006 for the purpose of bringing DPR services close to the people of the southeast, comprising of Anambra, Enugu, Imo, Abia, and Ebonyi states. The decree setting up DPR empowers it to have offices in all the federations, Nigerian states in the federation. Okay. And so, the office existing then in the southeast was Enugu office. And in 2006, the then director, Dr. Chukwueke, decided with his top management decided to create Owerri Zone. Hitherto, the activities, the upstream activities of the zone was being handled in Port Harcourt. Okay. So with the creation of the Owerri Zone now took off those activities, that upstream activities, as well as managing the states under the southeast, that is under the southeast zone.
Okay. We have 204 petroleum depots in the country, and only 2 of these are within your zone. They are not actually functioning. Can we find out what is happening? And are there other depots, in the offing?
Yeah, actually, there are 2 depots, Aba and Enugu. But for over 10 years now, Enugu depot has not functioned due to vandalism. The pipes that are carrying these products are being vandalized in one area or the other. Aba depot is functioning, however, not up to capacity. And so, marketers within the zone get products as it trickles in from Aba and from other depots outside the zone, especially ports, Apapa, Warri, as the case may be.
How have you been dealing with the constant vandalization of the pipeline linking Aba, Enugu, and Makurdi depots?
Like I said earlier, that of Enugu has not been working for a long time, even before I came to the zone, because of the issue of the pipes being vandalized.
Okay.
When I was in Enugu, there were efforts we made to see how we can put the depot working again.
Get it working, yeah.
We were then meeting at Enugu and tried to involve all the states
within the zone,
the state governors within the zone. We had much response from the then governor of Enugu, who was actually encouraging us through a commissioner, the commissioner of interministerial affairs. He was coordinating the whole thing, and we made some effort to see that life comes into that very depot, because there are a lot of economic activities that were going on there when the depot was working. A lot of people depended on what they can do around there. So we tried. And then sometime 2 years ago or so, there was a test run of that pipe, trying to see if they can link it again, because it is Enugu pipeline that feeds Makurdi.
Okay.
But lo and behold, when they tried and was even doing the test run with water, they went, hoodlums also went and vandalized it, thinking that product was there. At Akmugo, we made a visit to Akmugo. And when we went there, a distance of about 6 feet, they dug down to where the pipe is here, cut it off, went to the other side, cut it off, and cutted away with that pipe as big as it was. And since then, it has just been like that.
Most of the shortchanging the people, how do you handle that?
Okay. Yes, the shortchanging that are in the news are actually being exposed by the watch eyes of DPR staff.
Okay.
We go on surveillance on daily basis. Even as we're here now, we have men out there going out on surveillance basis. And no, if we now notice this, one, if it's a problem of one pump having this short-changing attitude, we isolate that pump and seal it.
Okay.
And before we unseal, one, the marketer must have repaired the pump or adjust the pump to read the normal price and quantity that's supposed to be dispensed.
The issue of health, safety and environment is very, very important in the industry, we know. How do you enforce this rule in your zone?
Yeah, the issue of safety is paramount, because people have to be alive to do the business. And in the area of enforcement, every aspect of safety procedures, environmental procedures are encapsulated in this Egaspin. And this book has been updated in 2018, and it has the current safety procedures, environmental procedures, all procedures that are needed to be followed in the industry.
A truck laden with petroleum products overturned and caused so much mayhem in Onitsha. We believe you have instituted, investigations into that. What is the outcome, sir?
Yeah, not only that, I think the one you were talking about is one that happened at Opi Iweka that killed a lot of people, and it was very unfortunate. Yes, really. Very, very unfortunate. Apart from that, we have series of them. The first thing we normally do, we will have such, is to make our investigation, and we'll send out, for instance, the one that happened, the one you referred to, happens to be under the jurisdiction of OCA. Immediately it happens, OCA were there and find out what happened, and they will send to us the preliminary reports on their investigation. Then after that, we also constitute a safety panel that will go there and then do an extensive investigation.
I want to thank you very much, sir, for giving us your time and telling us so much about what we need to know. So till another time, I want to say thank you to you for watching. Bye-bye.
You've heard from the man on the spot, Mr. Peter Ije, on how he and his team have been tackling petroleum industry challenges at the Owerri Zonal office. Now, please be reminded that next week will be another fascinating story about the Department of Petroleum Resources you may not know. Now, keep on watching. you may have a new thing to pick from the regulator of the Nigeria oil and gas industry, the backbone of the country's economy. Until then, it's good night.